Welcome to Remembering the Forgotten, a space where leaders think out loud without polish or performance. No scripts, no personas, just the quiet clarity that emerges when the noise drops and the mind is free to speak for itself. And today I'm joined by Solveiga Jaskunas, an immigrant voice in HR, an international keynote speaker, and a guide whose work is rooted in compassion, hope, and courage. Her journey began in Lithuania and has carried her across countries, cultures, and careers. From school psychologist and career consultant to human resources leader, mentor, and consultant in the US and beyond. For more than 2 decades, she has helped job seekers, leaders, and organizations navigate transition, find their voice, and build workplaces where every story is allowed to belong. Solveiga is the founder of An Immigrant Voice in HR, speaks 3 languages, and holds advanced degrees in industrial and organizational psychology and human resources management. But more than credentials, she's someone who lights up path and makes the journey a little easier for those walking behind her. With that, Solveiga, welcome to my show.
Marcus, thank you. What an introduction. You
It
made
is
me,
all you.
well, yes, it made
It
it
is all you.
emotional.
This is a mirror back to you. And by the way, I love to see your reaction to your own biography. So well
Yes.
done. So, Solveiga,
Thank
before
you.
we begin, when I say stillness, I don't mean peace or quiet. I mean the place in you untouched by pressure, noise, or performance. The place that knows before the mind thinks. And that's the layer I'm inviting you to speak from today.
Okay.
So that's that, Solveiga. Where in your life do you meet the you untouched by expectations?
Yeah, that's a good question. Marcus, this few years journey, I almost would describe that I'm finding who I am by being who I'm not. Because I'm discovering parts of myself that I never knew that exist. I think many times we growing up in environments that shapes us and shapes how we see ourselves and think about ourselves, and then you get challenged,
Mhm.
and then suddenly you realize that so like a few years ago I decided to do things, everything that will challenge my comfort level. And
Okay.
that definitely was difficult to ask for help, difficult to reach out to people whom you think that they will never, respond to you. Difficult being on the stage when this is the worst place you want, this is place that you don't want to be, because being on the stage always made me feel very imperfect. I something happens for me on the stage. I start stumbling over the words, stuttering. My English will get worse. And so all these things, was really uncomfortable and easy to do. But what I've learned, first that I became better and more comfortable in the areas that I felt uncomfortable. And I've realized that when I thought, I don't feel comfortable with my own voice, I I found that actually it can help inspire other people who feel exactly the same way as I do, that somebody else is better sharing their own stories, somebody else is more comfortable, somebody else is more courageous, somebody else will not stumble or stutter or have a better story to tell. And I wanted to help others to overcome those challenges. So then I had to decided to be an example myself. And not knowing where the journey will take definitely challenged my courage and comfort on so many different levels. But I've learned that it helped me to see where actually, uh, when I wanted to take other people on the journey to get comfortable with their own voice and being who they are, I became more comfortable myself. And I remember the conversation we had, the first conversation we
I
had.
have them all in my head, I tell you. That's why I'm smiling.
Yes, yes, and I remember the time you told me, Solveiga, why do you think about yourself as still an immigrant who came many years ago, and think about how people see you now, that you are becoming a leader, an immigrant voice for so many other people, and not only immigrants, and that you're inspiring people around the world. And I remember how emotional it became to me
I remember that
because,
time, yeah. That was
mhm,
deep.
yeah,
Because I remember how you were when we literally
mhm,
met for the first time.
mhm,
It was almost like you lived in the past and tried to take it into the present moment. And
mhm,
from there, you tried to go to the future, which never works
mhm,
because you had grown so much already by then. And then I recall how you started the conversation and how you left conversation. And then when you started sending me invites, videos, I first thought like, why is she sending me that stuff? And then I realized, gosh, she wants to share what has come, maybe apart from that conversation,
mhm,
because you went out.
mhm.
You suddenly realize, gosh, people don't need to hear my polished voice.
Yeah,
They need to hear the crackle in my sound. They need to see my knees shaking, literally
mhm,
shaking when I'm on stage, right?
mhm,
And this is what makes you approachable for those people. And remember when you went on the first HR stage, the feedback you received? So, what took it for you to literally say, you know what? What can I lose? And then, what can I win? And then go for it. What was that for you?
Marcus, I something shifted for me when I saw how my message can resonate with others. But also, like, every time I come, I actually almost embrace that discomfort, and I see that if my message will help at least one person in the room, even if that person will be me, it's worth it. And yes, I because I talk about the topics, what it's like to be invisible, what it's like to have discomfort or fear or not to belong. It almost, if I would come to the stage and I would be the most comfortable person there, it will not sound real.
Mhm.
And all those things that prevented me to speak, like even stumbling or stuttering or grammar mistakes or accent, wherever. It actually helps me now to stand out. And because it brings a more layer of emotions,
Mm-hmm.
it brings more me, and I can tell the stories that other people maybe not tell. Like I can talk about misinformation, I can talk growing up in the Soviet regime, I can talk about um, what it's like to be an immigrant, and yes, that it's, all those experiences, yeah, shapes me who I am. And yes, now I see, yes, maybe that in the world of so many perfection, those what people are really looking at, more humanity and that open conversation, and yes, uh, that trembling voice sometimes too.
There's this amazing story, and I'm not sure whether you know that, but I grew up in basically in an environment of brilliant singers. So I started singing myself. However, there was this story of an opera singer going into church and performed, standing ovation, everyone clapping. And then another time, an old lady stood up and sang a song, so much shaking in her voice, probably out of tune, you could not wish more, and people cried.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the moral of that story, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is not the polish. And I think I told you back then already, do not think that you have to exercise your speech to the way that it becomes automatic.
Mm-hmm.
Because once it becomes automatic, it becomes automatic. It becomes robotic. People don't need robotic.
Yeah.
I can tell you, in the meantime, you could go on any stage, Solveiga, and I knew that back then already. You could go on any stage. You knew that is the topic, and you could easily speak 20 minutes just from your heart, just from your heart. Because, when I met you, what was interesting, I met a woman, and I believe your voice was about 3 times as silent as it is today. I
Really.
sometimes almost didn't hear you.
Oh.
So even your voice became stronger. It
Mm.
makes sense because when you
Mm-hmm.
grow in self confidence, your posture opens, your chest opens, and your voice automatically comes out stronger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And back then, I literally knew and I think I told you that even back then, that your message is so much more important than yourself. That do never let your fear of failure hold yourself back of bringing the message to the people who need to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I told you in the beginning of our conversation, which wasn't recorded, that I know here will be so many women and so many immigrants. And it was beautiful how you corrected me. It's not just about women, it's about immigrants. And immigrants are as much men as they are women.
Yeah.
But I do have a heart for women in terms of finding their own voice,
Mm.
especially in a male dominated world in business. Because women often try to compete with men. And I say straight out, it's impossible.
Yeah.
You will never have a chance. Never, ever. Because if something is true, that males in business are not emotional, they are factual, they're numbers, and they're figures. And if a woman goes in with emotions, good luck, you lost. So, literally developing that own foundation first, which then the voice starts growing on identity. And that's when you beat any man in any industry. And I've seen it so many times. Like I worked with female managers who literally danced around her bosses
Mhm.
because she suddenly understood, gosh, that's how men think. It's quite simple. But it's not as simple as many women actually believe. It is complex. But when you see the complexity, it becomes very simple. But never, ever try to compete with a man. That doesn't work out well. So, in terms of
Mhm.
you being on stage, what is your driver to go on stage?
My driver is to inspire others to do the same, to get comfortable sharing their stories, no matter that it feels uneasy and uncomfortable, to give insights that provoke thoughts and inspire conversations beyond. Um, to see for other people to see opportunities that they think they are not for them, and to get comfortable to share their stories and perspectives, yeah, no matter what. And yes, I've realized, for me, like it was interesting, Marcus. A few years ago we talked about my mentors about LinkedIn banner, and initially I put a thought leader,
Mhm.
and one of my mentors said, Solveiga, this is also who you are, but you need to use something more distinct. Something
Mhm.
will separate you and who you want to do. And I said, well, I want, to inspire immigrants, bring an immigrant voice, in organizations to show that immigrant experiences do not make less worthy, but, help us, to grow and expand and inspire others. And I said, when I start speaking, the first thing people said is being a voice for us, being an immigrant voice and in HR. But I said, he said, well, that is a good, this is who you are. Why you just put that immigrant voice in HR? And I looked at that, Marcus, and I thought, well, actually, it is who I am, but is it like, how other people will perceive it? Because it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds, brave, courageous, but also very like, who is this person? And was interesting. And I shared a few other people and other what we think. And some people say, go for it. Yeah, this is you.
Mhm.
And other people say, no, maybe this is, Mrs. LinkedIn is a public space. Maybe think about something else. And, I decided to use it. And that weekend, Marcus, this is the first time I look at this thing, my LinkedIn banner,
Mhm.
immigrant voice in HR. And I've realized, what kind of voice I am, that suddenly I felt uncomfortable even recording my own videos. And I decided to do my first video that it took me 3 days to record, because as soon I start seeing myself and I say, hi, my name's Solveiga, I just stop and I say what I say next, and it looks that. At the end of it, I say, well, this is me, this is where I stumble, I stutter, but this is who I am. And I start saying, this is my first journey. I need to be kind to myself. And
It's a
then
beautiful
actually,
message for everyone.
yes, and Marcus, actually, it shaped me who I am, because at that point, when I said, okay, I'll record some videos, I would not like it, and it's okay. But if that, video maybe will help somebody else, that's all I need. And actually, it helped me because first, like, I wanted to inspire other people to find their voice, and it helped me to find my own voice. And yes, and now, like, some people who are against immigrants, they were never supported me before. But the ones who are, when they see this word, immigrant voice, and they say, who's this person? Let me ask more about it. And yes, I've realized that in some ways I represent that your voice, that a lot of people like your lack of confidence, or they stumble, or sometimes stop after the first word because they see how other people perceive, and you worried if you get hired or not because you have these mistakes. But when you realize actually you attract the people whom you want to attract, and being who you are is all you can do, and this can be really beautiful.
Absolutely is. So here's something to consider. So first,
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much for sharing this. People believe when they look at me,
Mm-hmm.
they know who I am. Good news, they do not.
Yeah.
They do not. However, what is true is people feel what I believe about myself, and that starts coloring their perception of me. So, yes, it is absolutely true. If I feel I'm a loser, I do not deserve to have a good life, I will attract people who confirm that, and I will repel people who actually wanted to help me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, to understand that we are basically resonance, meaning what's within comes without.
Mm-hmm.
And, we talked about body language and all of that kind of stuff on stage. And I shared then already that it's basically BS because your body language is natural to what's inside. So instead of saying, you know what, when I come on stage, the most important thing is that I do this because it's openness. You won't do it. You
No.
won't do it because your voice will say, you know what, Solveiga? The only thing I can do is have my hands very close to my body and actually protecting my organs because that's what your body says.
Yeah.
And now think about that. Like how funny, I could have used a
Mm-hmm.
different word,
Mm-hmm.
but let's call funny. How funny is it that people believe that they can go on stage and that they are professional? Goodness me. How many times did you fall when you learned to cycle a bicycle?
Yeah.
How many times?
Well, I don't know, but many.
Good. So, what I did, imagine this. I fell once and I put it aside and I said, this is stupid. I don't want to try it anymore. It's not worth it. So, today I cannot cycle. I don't know how it goes. Have you ever seen a child doing that?
Mm-hmm.
No, because no child is that stupid to say, you know what, I tried once. People laughed because I fell, I stumbled, I stuttered, and I stopped. No, a child said, why would I stop? I want to cycle. I want to know how it feels. Like my
Uh-huh.
wife, she's so beautiful. She said to me, Marcus, when I learned how to cycle a bike, it meant I could go places. And now think about in your situation, Solveiga.
Mm-hmm.
And I might shock you, what you just experienced so far is just the beginning. You are nowhere, my friend, where you are going to go. Nowhere. So now you learned how to ride a bicycle. You are
Mm-hmm.
not falling anymore, but still wobbly sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But you are going on that bike again. You're going to Greenland, and then you're going to Africa, and then you're driving to Switzerland, then you're driving to Lithuania. And every single time you go on those trips, you become better and better and better. So, literally, a message to everyone who watches our show today: there is no master born or fallen from heaven. That simply doesn't exist.
Mm-mm.
It's stupidity. And it's silliness that people come and say, you know what? I will make you a public speaker in 3 months. You will understand theoretically if this person is good. And there are not that many, by the way, they are really good. So this person might teach you theoretically, but then you need to start to work on your self-confidence.
Yeah.
And then people say, but Marcus, before I am self-confident, I will not go on stage. And I say, why not? What do you say, why not? Are you kidding me? I said, no, I'm not kidding you. Especially with Solveiga Jaskunas, she has a message that has to be freaking heard by millions of people worldwide. But you see how you know how afraid she is, and you see how she's stuttering in English, and how she's yeah, and then it suddenly start dropping with the other person. Stop. Marcus is not that stupid. He is not thinking nothing. So there must be something to it. And honestly, Solveiga, I would rather take 75% of people off stage who have no message and put you there instead.
Thank you so
So
much.
you have been at those HR conferences, right?
Hmm.
Can you recall how much blah, 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 blah
Hmm.
came from those HR professionals? And then came Solveiga, the
Thank you.
immigrant voice in HR. I can tell you already, and I made some of these introductions already, but while I listened to you, um, a person came to mind who is actually really well connected with public speaking. So I'll connect you to her after our conversation today.
Thank you so much,
Because you see,
Margaret.
coming on the show literally made me remember what it is all about with you.
Mm.
So that's what it's about. So here's a little bit of a question.
Hmm.
You might not even have been aware of that, but basically, you have been living other people's script for your life.
Hmm.
Do you remember a moment where you said, Solveiga, oh, this is not my own script. I'm living someone else's script. I started to believe shit that has nothing to do with me. Do you remember one of those moments where it suddenly dawned on you and said,
Marcus, I think I had quite a few of most moments this year. I've realized, and sometimes, what I find out, the worst enemy was myself.
of course,
Because, yeah, it was the hardest for me, not even like to be on the stage in front of so many people, but to be in front of my own computer and to record this first video where suddenly, like, almost everything I say, well, this is no, I don't want to share this and I don't want to share that. And then I've realized, yes, why not? Uh, and it was, and also I've realized, how helpful for me every time I've done something outside of my own comfort zone, like even of reaching out to you and having this conversation. I met of you. You have this power and strength. You felt like this is incredible. You're just moving to America. You already have this meeting planning, and I thought you were the most impressive person whom I met, because you are not even worried about what it will be takes. You're already in charge of your future. You having taking actions. You're building connections, and I thought you are such a great example of somebody who says, I don't care what the world takes. I am Marcus. I'm coming to the States. I'm building, and I'll show the world and make an impact I want to make. And I've realized, for me, those moments, I think in some ways was I met with one editor after my first talk, and I decided just to be me. I decided not to use any slides. I decided that to use only at the end because I thought I don't want to people like provide some statistics or data that people go there and forget about it. So I started very openly, like I said, I prepared the slides and I decided not to use them because for many years I felt like hiding under the slides. So this is me and I want to see you and you want to see me
And
and
let's face it, that's what people do. They
yeah,
hide behind the slides.
yes,
That's what it is. It's almost like I'm holding myself on the slides.
yeah.
And my hands cannot go away because I need to hold the slides.
Yeah, and I just felt like yes, it's a word. It's okay that people see it. It's what I talk about it. And when this person, or one editor, told me, I want to feature you in magazine, and I said, why me? And she said, I'll tell you why. Yes, she said you're right. All the presentations were incredible, but I forgot about them. And I heard
Mhm,
your presentation and I thought about it, weeks. And I decided to reach out to you. And this is where I thought, like, yeah, I realized, yes, there are some powers in ourselves that we don't see it unless other people show us. The
mhm,
powers that all of us have it, the powers yet even to inspire. Um, and I've realized how beautiful is to be there and you suddenly see that you inspire somebody and you help them to see something that they haven't seen in themselves.
mhm.
And suddenly, yes, you meet people whom so inspired. But when Marcus reached out and said, Solveiga, I want to have a conversation with you, and I felt like, yeah, maybe is something that, like, no matter of the level, if we start following our passion and stop caring, what other people think. But we do that because we know that maybe somebody else will help. That message might be important. It's something resonates with people.
It's beautiful. And I'm so glad that in the end you mentioned because I'm having an impact.
Mm.
You can believe me, Solveiga, if I wouldn't know what my purpose is, I would not have the courage I have. If
That's
I
true.
had not known what my purpose is, I would not have the resilience which I needed back then. If I had not known what my purpose is, guess what? I would be back in corporate. Literally, I would be back in corporate because I had a fantastic time when I was in corporate. Literally, the best time of my life. I was always my own boss, even if I was employed. I didn't care. But the thing is, did I get to that point overnight? No. And that's what people don't understand. They see those gurus and they see those experts, they see those specialists. I shared that story with you. Back in Switzerland, I was teaching. You'll be surprised I never shared that with you. But part of it was I taught immigrants who lost their jobs. You can imagine how hard that is. And in the end, what it came down to is often people ask me, how long does it take you to prepare a 50-minute lesson? I just smirked and said 28 years.
Mhm.
You see where I'm going, right?
Yes.
So, what people try to do is they try to take their current moment, look at it, and say, no, I never have what it takes to go on stage.
Hmm.
But suddenly, maybe even a little bit through our conversations, you realize, gosh, my past. is exactly what heaves me up on stage, because it is about my past that made me this immigrant voice in HR.
Mm-hmm.
And now imagine you had only spoken about the positive, you've spoken a little bit about the negative, but all in a voice like the positive sounded the same and the negative sounded the same, right? No, when you talk about the former Soviet regime, your voice crackled
Mm-hmm.
because, gosh, little Solveiga suddenly was on stage. It was almost like having her at your hand and she spoke instead of you. And believe me, this is what moves people.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stand 10 minutes of a Zoom call presentation. Every single time I ask, will there be a recording? And I actually leave the Zoom call after 10 minutes. Because why would I waste my time? But with you, if somebody told me, Marcus, Solveiga is going to send out a presentation, including the video, it's like, no, no. Solveiga is someone who has to be experienced live.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if you record something, and that's, by the way, why it's so hard for you, normally you have five senses.
Mm-hmm.
Online, Solveiga, two go away, and you only have three senses. So if you are already jittery and stuttering with the five senses available,
Mm-hmm.
take two away, this becomes so much harder.
Mm-hmm.
That's when people say, but Marcus, this is stupid. I am sitting alone in my room, having this little camera in front of me, and I'm speaking to people. So, yeah, but the problem is you have no resonance from anyone. And when you're on stage live, Solveiga, that's what you are feasting on. Looking into people's eyes, seeing how they start, gleaming. And another one you see going down. I say, wow, I touched that person. Recording something? Not a chance. So here's my
Mm-hmm.
tip. Start imagining you are on stage when you record for yourself, right? You
Mm-hmm.
picture this one person who is very expressive, a person who doesn't really understand it yet, but is a big fan of yours. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that person, the editor, picture the editor for a moment. She maybe sat in the second row, the one you just see with the lights, and she was looking at you, basically being at your lips with every word that came out. You saw her amazement, you saw her smile, you saw her frown, and literally picture her from now on the other side of the camera, and then speak to her. Do you feel it?
Mm-hmm.
It will be absolutely different. Because that is the biggest challenge for somebody who is not used to be on camera. There is no reception from
Mm-hmm.
another side. But if you picture there's this woman, this editor sitting, she's taking notes. Can you see her? She's
Yes.
taking notes and then she's thinking, and you see it. And then she smiles. It's like, gosh, there is someone I really touch. And that's when you actually put down the absolute best recording and presentations. So start doing that. I'm looking forward to hearing more about how it works,
Yeah,
because that's
yeah.
what it is. Picture this one person on the other side of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And you never do it for yourself, you do it for somebody else. And the other thing you said is so beautiful. If only one single person received your message, it was worth it. Only one person. So we're coming to the end of our show, of our time together.
Thank
And I
you,
have
Marcus.
one final question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Take it in.
Mm-hmm.
If someone listening feels lost in the noise. And you know what the noise is, the
Mhm.
opposite of stillness. What is one thing you would want that person to remember is still true despite of all the noise?
I would say that believe in yourself, even in the times that nobody else believes in you, and be kind to yourself in your journey, because life can be difficult, can be challenging. And yes, it is this, all of us has this power in us that can help somebody else, and we don't need to be afraid, to share it with the world. And yeah, Marcus, what you shared was really powerful, and almost like everything you told, it was something. It almost would come from me. That yes, you when you have that, you see that you can make an impact, and you have a passion behind of it. You don't. You may not have all the answers. You may not know that, if it will work or not, but that keeps you going because you know your why, and you don't need all the answers. You find all the answers on the way. Mhm.
How beautiful. Solveiga, thank you so much for being my guest on the show.
Thank you, Marcus. It's always so incredible to see you. You're truly special.
Thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
was Remembering the Forgotten, a conversation held in clarity, not performance. If something in this exchange helped you see differently, carry that forward.